Started this evening with the first of the 3 ships, Sabine Wren's TIE Fighter. The TIE Fighter itself, brought out from Rebels for the Rebel faction, salvaged by actually Zeb and Ezra from the series, but the paint scheme is all Sabine, if you couldn't tell already. So, a nice, cheap, cheerful TIE Fighter for the Rebels to get hold of, which is not a bad thing. Gives them more cheap ships available to them. So, we're going to go through the pilots first. I think then probably look at the title. So it's the Sabine's Wren's Masterpiece, and there's another one in there, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But we'll go through this. It's a nice little, actually neat box. I like this one already. Yeah, so Robin, if you want to take us through the pilots, cool. We'll talk through them.
So first of all, clocking in at Pilot Skill 3, we've got Zeb Aurelios. He's got standard TIE Fighter profile, 2 attack, 3 agility, 3 hull, 0 shields, focus, barrel roll, and evade on his action bar. And he carries across his pilot ability from the attack shuttle. When defending, you may cancel crit results before hit results.
Say what, Robin? The same ability as the attack shuttle?
My thought
this might be madness.
I think that's a better ability on this ship than it was on the attack shuttle.
Absolutely.
Significantly.
Having no shields. Points. It's the extra hull.
The extra hull and the fact that he has no shields, and which makes it honestly more vulnerable to quits. And for 13 points, you get a Pilot Skill 3 with a TIE Fighter with a reasonably useful ability.
Well, if you consider the generic is 12 points, and the 13 point, is it? It's not the Obsidian; it's the one below that. Sorry,
the Academy.
No, the Academy Pilot's the Pilot Skill 1. There's a Pilot Skill 3.
No,
that is the Obsidian. The black.
Obsidian,
yeah. So it's the same points as the Obsidian, same pilot skill, but you get Zeb's ability.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's really good. The number of TIE Fighters I've lost to direct hits or major explosions is a substantial quantity.
And Zeb significantly reduces that risk.
Plus, at 13 points, it gives the Rebels a decent, relatively durable blocker, because like between 3 agility and the evade action, that can take quite a lot. And it can be a real, very cheap, very nuisance.
Well, if you consider the only other Rebel ship that's got that same kind of pointage is a Z-95, coming at 12 and 14.
13.
Oh, I thought it was 12.
13 for the Tala.
13 for the Tala, so it's 12, 13. Okay. So, it's that same sort of kind of pointage. If you've got room for a Tala, you've got room for a TIE Fighter.
Zeb. Yeah.
And
with the stat line, Zeb's better.
To be honest,
it's the extra evade.
I think where you're looking at putting a prototype pilot Child and Reaper A-Wing in, it's worth considering Zeb instead on that basis as well, because he can block.
And he's cheaper.
He's cheaper. He can block effectively as well. He doesn't have the Pilot Skill 1, which in a blocker is actually a bit of an advantage, but he does have barrel roll, which in my opinion is the superior action for that kind of
blocking,
blocking positioning.
Just that lateral movement is nice.
It's another thing to point out: there are no generics here.
Yes, just like the Ark,
like
the attack shuttle.
Yes. You cannot have a generic pilot in a rebel TIE Fighter.
Yeah, that is a nice thing, and these are all named as well, which I like the fact they're all named pilots. Getting on to our second pilot of the day, Captain Rex.
So, Captain Rex, veteran of the Clone Wars, he's clocking in at Pilot Skill 4, same action bar, same upgrades, so none because it's a TIE Fighter. But his pilot ability, after you perform an attack, assign the Suppressive Fire Condition card to the defender.
Which I aptly just slid out the pile there.
And this is where we get into the exciting world of condition cards. They are, in theory, a new mechanic to X-Wing, although, to be honest, we've kind of had them since the days of the Ion token being in the game.
They're just a bit more
formalised.
Yeah.
The Suppressive Fire Condition is a unique condition. When attacking a ship other than Captain Rex, roll 1 for your attack dice. When you declare attack targeting Captain Rex, or when Captain Rex is destroyed, remove this card. If at the end of the combat phase, if Captain Rex did not perform an attack this phase, remove this card. So, Captain Rex can fly in, degrade your opponent's ability to attack anyone who isn't him.
Which, when he has his 3 green dice, and yes,
pair
him with Biggs. Biggs is going to survive longer.
No, they have to. They have to attack
because
Biggs,
they have to
and
shoot Biggs,
but
they have less attack to attack Biggs with.
That is something that I considered in my list build, but we'll get on to builds in a
And
minute.
only 14 points is only one more than Zeb.
It's a nice ability and a pilot skill buff.
I think he's a good bit of filler for rebel
Yeah.
lists.
Definitely.
Both of these two are, to be honest.
I think if you're going to build around him, there are some interesting things you can do, and like you can, in theory, do a Captain Rex Biggs Kanan list where you just force people to focus on Biggs and
That's what
burn
I built.
people's-
That's how I built.
burn people's attack dice down one way and the other, and I think that will just be a horrifically frustrating experience for everyone involved.
That's how I built mine. I put Kanan,
Yeah.
Biggs, and Captain Rex together for that reason. Just go. So, Kanan, you spend a focus to make them roll one less dice. Suppressive Fire is active. They roll one less dice.
So they've got
and they have to
0 or 1
Biggs.
against Biggs.
And with my build, which would like we get onto builds later on, I put a tactical jammer on the ghost. So they shoot through the ghost. I get one more agility. I get 3 agility.
Against
Maybe
by that
one or
point,
two attack dice.
I think the main use for Captain Rex, to be honest, is in a list where you can't afford Biggs, but you want something to give you a defensive ability.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that
Captain
works
Rex
as well.
can downgrade their attack dice and
Yeah.
will draw fire and hate.
Yes.
Yes, he is a good 12 points cheaper than Biggs.
Yeah.
And that's not an inconsiderable amount.
And that's
No, it's not.
that's realistically a minimum 12 points. Yes, he's 11 points cheaper, but you want to put an astromech on him.
I'm talking the standard Biggs build,
yeah.
really.
So moving on from Captain Rex, we've got another Rebels pilot in Sabine Wren.
Sabine Wren, pilot skill 5, same stat line, same action bar, but she does come with an elite pilot talent. She's only 15 points, and as with Zeb, comes with her attack shuttle pilot ability. Immediately before you reveal your maneuver, you may perform a free boost or barrel roll action. So very nimble.
Very nimble.
Very similar to
An aileron,
to the striker,
An aileron striker.
except with the barrel roll move in there as well. Although it's a free action, so you can't barrel roll then again after your movement.
Yeah.
No. But you could do a boost and then barrel roll. It's like the other way round of doing Jake Farrell.
Yes.
But what's to say you give it a 4-point engine upgrade, so it can do both.
There's no real point. You boost
No.
first, you move, you barrel roll. Who knows where you're going to go?
Exactly.
Wonderfully manoeuvrable. And the first of these to have access to an elite pilot talent.
Yes. It's nice. These are all still really cheap.
Oh, we have a graphic showing where Sabine can go, and it's apparently everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of those. It's like one of those charts where you go, the weather is not so good, but in this case, Sabine can go anywhere. I've looked at diagrams like this before. Elliot showed me a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that movement. How are you going to predict that movement?
And that graphic doesn't even show everywhere because it's optional, and the graphic we just saw only showed from boost.
Yeah.
And a definite boost. So anywhere,
Yeah.
really, she can. This is a ship that can move.
I think it's interesting. I think it's nice and cheap. I'm not 100% certain what I would want to do for the elite pilot talent. That's the point where I am actually a bit uncertain. There is the crack shot option, and it's not a terrible one.
But it's just one crack shot is
Yeah.
the thing, which it's fine, but crack shot you want a bunch, I think.
Yeah. I think I would probably start leaning towards something like Duke
BI.
or outmaneuver.
Yeah.
Because those two attack dice
Oh,
don't do
no,
much.
outmaneuver with that ability
Could work.
can work quite nicely.
Compared to a standard TIE fighter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very
Yeah,
different
that
state of
is-
affairs.
No, outmaneuver with this because you're quite reasonably. The issue outmaneuver will have is pilot skill 5.
Yeah.
It's not high.
And that's the thing, even with veteran instincts, you're pushing yourself up to a maximum of 7, which
Yeah.
is great against defenders, but against everything else it's a bit
Yeah.
lacking.
And then you wouldn't have anything to punch through with only 2 attack dice.
Yeah.
So you probably want something like Duke or outmaneuver, and then it has something of a chance of working. It just depends what you're up against.
I mean, there are some other options, of course, but we'll get to those,
Of course.
Later on.
in a little bit.
Also, I'll thank the person who made this little program, which is called Echolocation, and you can find it by searching Randolph PW Echolocation. It's a great little tool.
It's fantastic.
That's a great name. I like it.
Echolocation. Echo. So we get on to the final pilot for the TIE Fighter. She is Luke Skywalker's apprentice, Ahsoka Tano. No, not Luke's, Anakin's.
Yep.
Damn it, I got the wrong one.
Wrong Skywalker.
Same family tree, wrong one. Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano. Pilot skill 7, so a big boost up there. Same TIE stat line, same action bar, elite pilot talent, 17 points. And at the start of the combat phase, you may choose to spend 1 focus token to choose a friendly ship at range 1. It may perform 1 free action.
Actions at the start of the combat phase.
And it's worth noting that's a friendly ship at range 1, so Ahsoka can
do herself.
Do that.
Spend
to
a
herself
focus
if needs
token
be.
at the start of the combat phase, and you get your own free action.
Yeah. So
That'd be
that's
quite nice.
To barrel roll out of arc.
Yeah.
Potentially, or something completely different using some of the stuff in that stack there.
Yeah.
This is an interesting support ship. It's a TIE fighter that's a support ship.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to be. I think she lends a lot of potential to a lot of lists. An extra action can be a huge deal. And to be completely honest, I don't think she's going to be a priority target because she's just a 2 attack dice TIE fighter. And if people are
She
shooting
also
at
might
Ahsoka,
not be a possible target.
Indeed. But if
Yeah,
people
again,
are shooting at
that's what I'm
Ahsoka, then they're not shooting at whatever else is in your list, and that's probably notably more dangerous.
And that's probably where the teeth lay.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we get onto in a minute. I love all these pilots. They've all got their own little sort of niche, if it were.
Yeah,
Having
there's-
Sabine and Zeb coming across from the Phantom abilities onto this is quite nice as well. Ahsoka, yes, is going to get a lot of gameplay, but I think at the same vein, don't discount Captain Rex because of what he can do.
That's a specified. It's a nice little defensive ability.
When I saw this card, I was like,
Potentially very useful.
Hedge will love me when I use the word degrade. It's one of his. He always said it's one of these 4 factors you got to consider when you list build, and degrade is one of them.
Yeah.
And with Captain Rex,
Friction is
friction.
Yeah.
Captain Rex and Biggs alongside each other. Built in the right way, that effectively drawing the fire cross into Biggs with less attack dice.
Yeah.
Biggs is going to be around longer.
If you're using Biggs, I mean at that point you are putting 30 points into your defensive ships, purely defensive ships.
I think the thing for me is there isn't a dud pilot in
No,
that selection.
I don't think- I
there
think
are
you're
none
right.
of them where I'm thinking I cannot see a use or a role for this, or even
Agreed.
this pilot is slightly overcosted. Everything in there seems like it is.
I think they built.
immediately useful.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's a
I
nicely
think
put
also
together
if they
pack.
started to overcost it, it'd be like, but they're TIE fighters.
Yeah,
the
TIE
Empire
fighters.
ones were cheap.
A TIE
It's a
fighter-
stolen Imperial TIE
Yes.
fighter. It can't
Yes.
be like 30 points. I think that would
Of
be.
course not.
That would be
Of course not. That'd be
stupid. Not
ridiculous.
to,
They're going to be cheap. They're in a TIE fighter, but
But this makes it better.
So a highest base cost of 17, I think, is about right.
Do we want to take a gander at the upgrades?
Yes,
Go for it.
yeah, and as I say, let's start with the Sabine's masterpiece, which is
The title.
huge help.
As a very quick note, because it's not something that's new to this pack, it does come with a copy of Veteran Instincts, which is always nice to have.
Yeah.
Yet another.
I think the Rebels only had access to that via the old Millennium Falcon box
Was it-
as
I
well.
thought it was,
so-
A-Wings would push the limit. Yeah, Veteran Instincts was. Yeah, I've definitely got 1 or 2 copies of those looking around, including Alt Art. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's nice to have more copies of cards that you're going to see a lot more use out of.
Yeah, and Veteran Instincts is one of those cards that it's
If you've got a
everywhere.
point spare, it's not a bad card.
If you have
to
a point,
use.
if you have a point spare in the slot for it, Veteran Instincts is a standard go-to card to put on a ship.
Yeah. No, I think saying that in mind, if we start looking at what also can be like Sabine's masterpiece, for example.
Yes.
So, Sabine's Masterpiece is a unique TIE Fighter only, Rebel only title, so really, really narrowing those criteria down there. It costs 1 point, and for that, your upgrade bar gains the crew and illicit upgrade icons.
So a 1 point upgrade to gain 2 slots. Nice. And another way for Rebels to get an illicit slot.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to take a big beefy freighter for that now.
Nope.
With some of the cheap crew that Rebels have now got access to as well.
That's potentially very nice.
That
Nine
You can
numbers.
do some really good stuff with this.
Ray for like
Focus banking.
focus banking.
A focus banking on Ahsoka.
Oh yeah, didn't think of
Cassian
Yeah.
Andor, if you want to like really play up your blocker role.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Like there's so many good, relatively cheap Rebel crew options that mean that you can add a lot of utility to this TIE Fighter without making it cost the Earth.
Yeah.
No, that is the key thing. I think
Absolutely.
when you start spending its points value again in upgrades, that's when you've gone too far.
Yes, but you can do
But for
some
5,
really
6, 7 points, yeah, it's not too
you
bad.
can do some really nice things with this ship for and keep it cheap.
Yeah.
Just slap that and some black market slicer tools on there for something that's really going to be a harrying presence.
That's how I've built it for my Rebel list, almost, with just a couple of extra things on top.
Yeah.
Do we want to
Look
at the other key
other
parts of
Other
the
special
list?
card.
which is going to be probably more used on Ahsoka than anything else. And that is obviously referring back to the fact that it is a captured TIE fighter.
So, the captured TIE is a unique modification. TIE Fighter only and Rebel only, once again. For 1 point, enemy ships with a pilot skill value lower than yours cannot declare you as the target of an attack. After you perform an attack, or when you are the only remaining friendly ship in play, discard this card.
So
Yeah.
Ahsoka
So,
Tano with VI,
with veterans,
PS9.
You cannot shoot Ahsoka Tano unless you have pilot skill 9 or there's nothing left to shoot.
Pilot skill higher than.
No, equal to or
equal
higher
to
than.
or higher than. Okay, so
Yeah.
9, 10, or 9, 10,
11.
11, 12.
So
Yes.
enemy ships with a pilot skill value lower than yours
Yes.
cannot declare you
Yeah.
as the
Sorry to
target.
interrupt. Hedge just mentioned probably having Chewbacca crew on Sabine's Masterpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done it with an attack shuttle, and it's done me worlds of good there, and it's even better value for money on a TIE Fighter, I'd argue.
But no, I like that. I think out of all of them, it's going to see more use on Ahsoka Tano VI.
Yes.
It
The
makes
build
more sense.
the build I put together for it involves Ahsoka Tano with the captured time, the title, to give her access to black market slicer tools and a saboteur, so that you can give things face down damage cards and then immediately flip them face up with by spending a focus token. You need something to be feeding her focus tokens, but the rebels have already got that.
Kyle Katarn.
Kyle Katarn,
Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso.
Yeah, and Jin.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways of doing that.
Yeah, there is plenty of ways of doing that. That's good to know.
I think it's not something we're going to see much outside of
No.
Ahsoka, though, because I think
No.
that pilot skill criteria is going to...
Have to be up there.
Yeah, and yeah, that's going to be pretty much exclusive to a veteran instinct Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
But there's some really, really funny little things you can do with that.
Yeah.
Just give her. It's a friction build.
Yeah.
Completely, but you can put on all kinds of things just to get her right up into the up to your opponent's list, have her be irritating, and with
You
the
can't
captured
judge
tie, they can't do anything about that. She's just going to be annoying, and it's fine. You can't do her. You just have. She just doesn't shoot. And as long as she doesn't shoot, you've got to kind of let her be annoying.
But yeah, so moving on, we
so-
have
things.
got a nice illicit slot EMP device.
So, EMP device, a unique illicit for 2 points. During the combat phase, instead of performing any attacks, you may discard this card to assign 2 ion tokens to each ship at range 1.
Iron
Notes.
Lockdown.
Note that includes yourself.
Yes, because you are range 1 of yourself.
You are.
But if you want to completely...
Eye on your opponent's entire list, all at once, you can do that once ever.
Hope you weren't flying in tight formation.
Well, if you're flying in tight formation, you'll still be in tight formation, going 1 forwards.
Yep.
It's one of those
Unless
things.
you're
If you
big bets, because it'll instantly eye on a big ship,
Yep.
and then everything going 1 forwards. That's going to break your formation from a big ship if you have a mix of big and small.
Oh yeah. Good point. I like that.
I think it's a very neat upgrade. I think it does a lot for the points cost. I personally think I'm more likely to put it on a quad jumper than I am going to stick it on one of the Rebel TIE fighters. But at the same time, let's throw it on Zeb. It's grand total of 16 points for something that can be this huge annoyance.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's a nice idea.
And because it's not an attack, it doesn't break your captured TIE
No,
organization off either. So useful if you want to just fly into the middle of a swarm and then
And go, wha-pam!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you hope is you don't catch all of them. You catch like all but about 2.
Break them up.
Or force them to then do a 1 straight and go, I
they
know
can.
exactly where you go. Oh, because TIEs can't do a 1 straight. They
Doesn't
haven't got
matter,
access
doesn't
to
matter,
it.
they have to do
No,
do it.
if they
If you
haven't been
catch
caught
some-
in the... if you only catch some of a swarm...
yes.
You split them. Yeah.
True.
So, that is nice. But we're going to move on with some more of the cards in the box here. We've got first lot of crew, Captain Rex. So he appears in a crew form as well. Also, no, obviously you can't have Captain Rex TIE Fighter and Captain Rex crew because that's not allowed.
So, Captain Rex.
He is a clone, but...
Not that much of a clone. He's not AG-88.
nice. Captain Rex. He is a unique rebel only crew. Costs 2 points. After you perform an attack that does not hit, you may assign 1 focus token to your ship.
The immediate thing I
Captain
think
Rex
of
Ray.
was Captain Rex Gunner fire control system. So your second shot is fully modified.
Ah, yes, of course. Yeah.
It's a lot like a Gunner Bosk build.
Yeah.
Without the stress.
Yeah.
My general thought is it's a little bit of a weak crew card. Like this is the one where the one card from this upgrade where I'm a bit like it feels like it is 1 point more than it should have been.
It has uses.
It has uses, but specifically the Rebels have Luke Skywalker. And
he's 5 points more.
Luke Skywalker crew is
7 points.
7 points, but he combines Gunner and an automatic free focus effect.
But he only converts 1 focus.
He does. It's true.
Yeah. Captain Rex Gunner is actually together the same amount of points as just Luke Skywalker for technically a stronger effect.
It is.
The downside
Two
is
crew slots.
It takes your 2 crew slots, and the Rebels have a couple of things that can take it.
Falcon and the Ghost.
U-Wing.
And the U-Wing.
The U-Wing.
Like I think it's definitely something we are going to see occasionally, and I do think it has got some uses. But when you're comparing it to the other 2 point Rebel crew, I think there's other places you may want to spend your points.
It's a little thing. But
Yeah.
something I did actually notice looking through this box earlier, the 2 higher pilot skill can equip literally every upgrade in the box at once.
Yes. Because
Yes, they can.
It's
Yes.
modification. It's modification title EPT.
crew.
The title gives you access to
the
crew
crew
and
and the,
illicit, and it has
It's a bad build. Don't do it.
It's a
can.
self-contained list. That
Nice.
kind of links back to the Protectorate Starfighter and the way they did that, and everything in the Protectorate Starfighter box could be used.
No, but you can do them all at once.
Yeah.
The other thing I
For a
thought was
bad
interesting
build.
is that the only non-unique card in the entire box is Veteran Instincts.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That is silly.
Well, the Rebels only stole that one painted TIE fighter.
They did. They didn't steal
Having-
thousands of them.
Having said that, if you buy 2 copies of Sabine's TIE, you can fly a 4-ship Rebel TIE Swarm. So,
If you
you
have
wanna-
other TIE fighters from either the TIE Fighter expansion
from the
or from the
basic
original core
SOT
set.
box, which you've probably got.
I have. One of them's in bits, but
Okay, well,
I still own 2. But rather than having, say, like 8 TIE Swarm, it's 4 named TIE Swarm.
yeah.
Better quality. But then you have the Imperial ones like Howl Runner, for example, and just...
yeah, it's something
Gives
you
it
can
legs.
do. Rebel TIE Swarm, because why not?
Oh, thanks.
I like it.
Yeah,
I think there's some really interesting things you can do with this. And yeah, no, there's some... I think that the title is a really interesting one for the amount of things that you could build with this.
I think there's some really neat tricks you can do with it,
Yeah.
but I think where I'm likely to be flying it the most is those really cheap like Zeb and Captain Rex. Ones for like some cheap utility that can just slot nicely into like those remaining points you've got.
Yeah,
left.
I think also there's 4 ships, but they fit into 3 entirely different playstyles. So if you want to be controlling, you take Captain Rex, so the suppressive fire. If you want to be super maneuverable, you take Sabine Wren or Zeb. If you just want to be pure up annoying, you take a VI Ahsoka Tano. So you know, there is three different ways you can use those pilots. So it's not trapping you into you have to take this and fly it this way. There's different ways you can take it. So and they're cheap as well.
If I can butt in as well.
Yes, you can.
I kind of like it because it can fit perfectly in an attack shuttle and ghost build. Is it a good idea? No idea. Probably not. But I like that you can do that.
Get all of the Rebels crew on the table at once.
So it means you could have Kanan with Chopper as you could literally have the full Rebels crew out there and Captain Rex.
More or less on the crew at this point, anyway.
Yes, but yeah, I like this set. It's a nice little set. But we're going to move on to the second ship this evening, and that is the Quad Jumper for the Scum faction. This was, I
As
believe,
briefly seen blowing up on Jakku.